family to Sunday sessions. This is our weekly space of reflection, growth, and connection here at Bridge City Global, where our mission is to connect better, build better, and live better. Whether you're tuning in from across the country or across the globe, whether you're brand new or you've been walking with us for a while, you belong here. Every Sunday, we gather to learn together, unlearn together, and build a community that's people-centric, progressive thinking, and grounded in compassion, clarity, and real human connection. So get comfortable, say hello in the chat, and settle in. We're glad you made it. Let's grow together. Before we get started, let's jump into a few announcements. This holiday season, Bridge City is spreading some love and care across the globe. Donate at least one food item to a local food bank, shelter, or a community food collection point. When you donate, be sure to share a photo of your donation on the Bridge City Moments Forum. You can donate anywhere near you, a food bank, a grocery store, any place with a donation bin, a school drive, or a community center. Even one can of food makes a difference. Let's fill the world with moments of kindness. Now, if you're looking out how to participate, just drop off a food item at a local donation spot. Take a quick photo of you, your item, your drop-off, and post it in the Bridge City Moments with the tag BC Thanksgiving Food Drive 2025. Hashtag BC Thanksgiving Food Drive 2025. No contribution is too small, but together we make a big impact. At Bridge City Global, we believe being connected doesn't mean just logging in. It means joining in. That's why we've created clubs. These are dedicated spaces where members like you engage, create, collaborate, and grow together. We have clubs for you to connect, like the Deconstruction Club and the Life's Big Questions Club, where members build conversations that matter and that lead to transformation. We also have clubs for you to collaborate on community projects like the Music Club and the Production Club for creatives who want to plug their talents in. Why should you join a club? Because when you join, you'll be a part of something bigger than just watching. You'll be co-creating. You'll meet people who share your interests and match your energy. You'll connect with others who love the same things you do. And most importantly, you'll take action. Ideas turn into posts, actions, events, sessions, and so much more. And the best part, getting started is easy. Check out the clubs, get involved, and let's make our community richer because you're a part of it. Thanks for being here. Let's make it amazing. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but we have a new series starting next week. We're preparing to soar through new possibilities in a new Sunday session series that we're calling Flight School. Every year we lift off with dreams, goals, and new intentions. But before we can soar, we have to understand the skies we're flying through. Flight School is an end-of-the-year series designed to help us learn life's in-flight protocol, how to handle turbulence, when to buckle up, how to deal with emotional hijackers, and how to travel light enough to rise. This isn't about escaping the world, it's about learning how to navigate it. Flight School is your pre-flight checklist for 2026. Release, readiness, responsibility, resilience, and recovery. So grab your seat, buckle up, and prepare to soar through new possibilities. Meet us back here next weekend. Bridge City is growing fast, and we want to make sure every single person knows exactly where they fit, how to connect, and how to take their next steps in this movement. For 7 days, we're opening the doors to our entire global campus, our clubs, our teams, our projects, our leaders, our conversations, all of it. This is our first official open house, starting with our kickoff event next Sunday evening. We're going to have an orientation, do some recognitions, and then we're going to end the evening with a Thanksgiving Pictionary night. It's the perfect reset and re-entry point for the whole community. Each day after kickoff, our different clubs will host a live event, an activity, or a challenge. That Monday, our Comms Club is hosting a social media party and contest. On Thursday, our Deconstruction Club is hosting a live event with me. You gotta check the calendar. It's gonna be a packed week. We wrap the week with the Bridge City Experience, where we're gonna spend some time reflecting on the week's highlights, member stories, and club moments. And we'll officially close the night strong with our first community movie night. Also, beginning in December, we're having office hours. Every Thursday will be a set time each week where anyone from anywhere can come in and ask questions, get clarity, or talk all things Bridge City. This is your direct line to leadership, a global touch point, a place to stay informed, aligned, and supported. Check the Global Campus Events calendar for the exact time. If you've been watching from the sidelines, if you've been meaning to plug back in, if you've been looking for your people, Open House Week is your moment. Office hours will be your anchor, and clubs are how we build this community together. Head to Circle, check out the open house page, and mark your calendars. Family, let's make this next season the most connected we've ever been. And last but not least, Bridge City Global is fully people-powered. No superstition, no tithes, no compulsory giving. Just a community choosing month by month, project by project to build something real, something needed, something that lasts. If Bridge City has been meaningful to you, we invite you to support this work. You can give through the link in the description or the QR code on your screen. Every dollar goes directly into creating the spaces, experiences, teams, tools, and events that make this movement possible. We're excited to announce a new tradition here. Every second Tuesday of the month is Bridge City's Giving Tuesday. It's a moment where our community comes together, not out of pressure, not out of obligation, but out of shared generosity and shared ownership. Giving Tuesday is how we strengthen our community economy, fund new clubs, teams, and programs, support local campus development, expand events, Sunday sessions, and the content that reaches people across the globe. This has become a foundation of sustainable community. Every contribution, whether it's $5 or $5,000, helps keep these bridges going, helps us keep building bridges to better. If this information, if this content have challenged you, if it has elevated you, you can give right now using the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on your screen. And mark your calendar, our next Giving Tuesday is coming up soon. Let's show the power of community generosity. We appreciate you. Let's keep building these bridges together, and together we all keep rising. Song this weekend. Let me know what you think about it. You are good, you are great, you are bigger than today. It's okay, make mistakes and find your way. You are good, you are great, you are bigger than today. It's okay, make mistakes and find your way. Sing it with me this time. You are good, you are great, you are bigger than today. It's okay, make mistakes and find your way. Come on, let's encourage somebody. You are good, you are great, you are bigger than today. It's okay, make mistakes and find your way. One more time. 'Cause you are good, you are great, you are bigger than today. It's okay, make mistakes and find your way. We're not all knowing, but we're all growing, so you just keep rowing right along. You live your story in all of its glory, 'cause you belong. We're not all knowing, but we're all growing, so you just keep rowing right along. Just live your story in all of its glory, 'cause you belong. 'Cause you are good, you are great, you are bigger than today. So it's okay, make mistakes and find your way. 'Cause you are good, you are great, you are bigger than today. So it's okay, make mistakes and find your way. 'Cause you are good, you are great, you are bigger than today. It's okay, find your way and make mistakes. You are good, you are great, you are bigger than today. So it's okay, make mistakes and find your way. We're not all knowing, but we're all growing, so you just keep rowing right along. You live your story in all of its glory, 'cause you belong. We're not all knowing, but we're all growing, so you just keep rowing right along. Just live your story in all of its glory, 'cause you belong. 'Cause you are good, you are great, you are bigger than today. It's okay, make mistakes, find your way. 'Cause you are good, you are great, you are bigger than today. It's okay, make mistakes and find your way. Thank you this morning. Welcome in everybody to Sunday Session. So glad to see you all here today. We have an exciting conversation for you all, man. I got to meet Steve at NanoCon earlier this year. I meant to have his book beside me. I left it on my couch where I was reading that. But this is going to be so exciting. He wrote an excellent book called Humanism from the Heart. And I'm not going to take up too much time because I'm ready to get him up here. But let me just do this brief introduction. Steve is a humanist officiant who conducts secular marriages, memorials, and many more meaningful life-affirming celebrations. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in History and a Bachelor of Education in primary, junior, and intermediate grades. Raised as a free thinker, Steve has been married to a Christian for over a decade. He and his wife, Cindy, believe in the importance of bridging the gap between believers and non-believers. Their 2 young children are being raised in an interfaith household and are free to choose their own path. He serves as an ambassador for Humanist Canada, Recovering from Religion, and Sunday Assembly. In 2024, Steve was awarded the King Charles III Coronation Medal for significant contributions to his community in Windsor, Essex, Ontario, Canada. So without further ado, y'all, would y'all give a big welcome to Steve as we bring him aboard? And Steve, the first question I'm going to ask you, because if you notice, I have not used your last name the whole time that I've been talking. And it's because I don't want to butcher it. And I want the first time that we hear it, that it be the correct way. So nobody runs with my messed up pronunciation of it. So can you start off, just give us a little introduction to who you are and what you're excited about, and just lead with how we pronounce your last name.
Yeah, so that's a lot of pressure. I'm hoping I pronounce it myself correctly. But it's Steve Ghikadis. It's a soft G. It's actually a Greek name that I don't think it was actually the original Greek name. When my family came over from Greece, they had like this big long name, and they're just like, let's shorten it and make it this. So it just turned out to be Ghikadis.
Wow.
And so basically, like Darante said, I met him at NanoCon, and it was a really funny experience because I was doing a wedding that evening. And I couldn't leave my house till like about 7 p.m. or something like that. And it's about a 9-hour drive to Nashville. So I got there at about 4 a.m. my time, which I actually saved an hour because it turned into 3 p.m. when I got there. And Darante was still out partying on the patio. So that was fun. And he just went, Steve, and we did a big hug, and it was just really cool to meet him there. And it was a really great experience being at NanoCon.
I love it. And just for you, man, what are you working on right now? Is there anything that you're really excited about? I know your book is like blowing up like fire right now, man. What's going on in your world?
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of press tours and stuff with the book. So like going and doing some talks. I actually did a talk at Joe Pittinger's church, West Hill United. We had him on last week. So I went and did a talk at his church about interfaith family and, having community with people that are different backgrounds and beliefs. I've done a lot of those type of things. I've done some library events. I have one coming up on writing memoirs and helping people write their memoirs and things like that. And I just found out that I was a finalist for the American Writing Award. So that was kind of a cool thing. So now I get a sticker to put on my book saying I was a finalist for that. So.
Oh, that is really awesome. That is awesome, man. I'm gonna have to go back and see if I can get Joe to give me your talk for when you spoke at West Hill. I already know that it was great. Well, as you know, I have a few questions for you today, and we'll walk through them and just see where we where this conversation flows to. My first one is, especially because your background is a little different. You were raised as a free thinker, so this question isn't even in the notes that I sent over. But I do want to ask, what has that dynamic been like for you? Someone who was raised as a free thinker, and still said, I'm still going to choose a believing spouse. Like, who is Steve? How do we get this free thinking Steve who becomes this really beautiful, valuable voice for humanism, and does so while being a bridge in his own personal life? How do you become that, man? That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I actually was baptized Anglican because at the time my mom was, going to church, but she baptized me Anglican. And then after that, she started doing the best practices for raising free thinkers without even knowing how, because she never read the book. The book wasn't written until 2007, I think it was, when Dale McGowan put out Parenting Beyond Belief, and he talked about the 9 best practices for raising free thinkers. So, but yeah, she allowed me to remain unlabeled. She never called me a Christian child or anything like that. It's best to leave people unlabeled. And, you wouldn't say, you're a Detroit Red Wings child or a Toronto Maple Leafs child or something like that, right? So why would you say atheist child, Christian child, whatever? And, just allowing me to have the freedom to go to different churches and mosques and temples and stuff with my friends. Just got a lot of experience and I saw religion for what it was, which, is a story that we tell, about
I like that.
Trying to find out where it is that we come from and what we need to do to get along with other people. And I just kind of took that to heart. Later on, I was joining the Masonic Lodge as a promise to my late grandfather. And I didn't realize that it was quite a religious organization. And they said, you have to believe in a higher power. And I said, well, I guess when I walk under power lines, I guess I can say that there's a higher power above me. And, they let me in. And at the same time, I met my wife. So I thought, maybe there's something to this. She's religious. This is a religious organization. And turns out, no, I don't believe it still. But I was going to church with her and her family. And, for a long time. And I, was trying to find the spark that everybody seemed to find when they were sitting in church, and it just never hit me. And then at our wedding, the wedding reception, her parents said, we're just so happy she met a man who believes the exact same thing she does. And I'm like, shit, because I don't.
Wow. Yeah.
And I went through a really rough, angry atheist phase where I was actually burning bridges. A lot of bridges got burned during that time. Yeah. And I reached out to Anthony Magnabosco, who actually wrote the foreword to my book. And he does the practice of street epistemology, which we can get into later as well, and just talking about what that is. Yeah. And then I also reached out to Dale McGowan, who is an author and wrote books on interfaith relationships and parenting. And they both helped me turn my life around and be able to have these cordial conversations to be able to rebuild the bridges that I had burned.
Wow, man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, well, I guess that does lead me to a question. What are some of the life experiences that pushed you toward humanism? Not even just as an idea, but it sounds like this is a lived embodiment for you. This is applied humanism. This is a lived identity for you. What is it that pushed you there? That pushed you from this child who's raised to be free thinking while being in somewhat of a religious context, but allowed to navigate life without labels. How does humanism become a label that you feel comfortable with?
Yeah, that's a really good question too, because I didn't really know about the term humanism until way later on in my life. But I always explain this in my book that my life, my worldview is kind of circular, because I do feel like, growing up, I was a secular humanist, even though I didn't have a label for it. Yeah. But the one thing that I encourage my kids to do, and it's something that my mom encouraged me to do, was, look at that person's face over there. How do you think they're feeling? How do you think that you can make them feel better if they're upset or distressed? And it's always good to, if my mom always explained to me, if there was a little bit of food left in the house, the kids are going to eat first, right? And that type of thing. So it's just going through those type of things, like the compassion, the empathy, the understanding that everybody's human and everybody counts and everybody matters. Yeah. And same kind of thing that you're trying to do with Bridge City, right? It's just making everything, making everybody count, making everybody part of the process and part of their life.
I love that, man. That is absolutely beautiful. Now, and I also saw in your bio, because you go through the phase where you're looking for that spark in church. You don't exactly find that spark in church, but you do end up getting involved with organizations like Sunday Assembly. And I think you may be the first person that I've had on the channel that is directly involved with Sunday Assembly. What was it about the way that they organize, the way that they gather, and the way that they present themselves, where you said, you know what, this is not only an organization that I'd like to be a part of, but I'd also love to be an ambassador for them?
Yeah, so Sunday Assembly, I guess it was started back in 2013, I believe, by two British comedians. And they were on their way to a show, and they were saying, like, it would be so cool if we could go to church, but like none of the God stuff. And then the other one's like, yeah, that's a good idea. We should do that. So they took out a newspaper ad, and they said, hey, we're going to meet on a Sunday. And then I think 200 people or something showed up, and they're like, oh, we're onto something here. And yeah, it's basically that's basically what it is. It's like a worship service, but without the worship. So you get there, you have a guest speaker that comes up and does like a nice presentation. You have board members that are there, and they're actually facilitating everything. They're ensuring that everyone is, greeted when they come through the door, and everyone's felt welcome. Someone will say, how's your mom's back or whatever, like everyone's a community, just like a church or a mosque would be. And, they have different parts of the service. So you have like music in certain ones. You have the fellowship and meals afterwards, just to, have those nice connections. And the very first time I was a part of Sunday Assembly was they asked me to do an online presentation for recovering from religion. And this was during the pandemic. And what I noticed right away is that they were just like the most friendly people I've ever met. It's just, they were like, oh, we'll work around your schedule, anything that you need. And it was so different than anything I've ever dealt with before. They were just really nice human beings. And I just thought, like, what, when the pandemic is over and we get back to in person, I really want to show up and be part of this. So the very first one I showed up for, I think it was in 2021 when things had reopened, or 2022, and they had a potluck, and it was like we got to come and bring a bunch of food. And Detroit Atheist Queen was there, and she brought her bean dish, and it was just amazing. Wow. Yeah, so it was just really cool to meet everybody in person. And then I'm like, I really want to be a part of this organization. So I put my name in for to be elected on the board. And eventually now I am currently the president of Sunday Assembly Detroit. Right. Difficult for me to get across the border at the moment due to certain political situations. But.
Understood. Yeah. Man, that is so cool. Thank you for giving us that really thorough view of Sunday Assembly. I've been incredibly interested in them. I know the next time I go to California, I was making plans on to see if they still had their LA chapter there, because I know are you familiar with Oasis as well?
Yes, yeah, I've done presentations for Oasis as well. They're a great organization too. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, I've that's something I've been fascinated with, obviously because I'm a former pastor, of the idea of creating that church-like community space that doesn't have to appeal to any doctrines. And for me, it kind of came from that pastoral background. I love the way you said you kind of started as a secular humanist, and I think many pastors start that way too. One of the biggest things that, or at least in my context, that led a lot of pastors to want to do this is that you've been convinced and you feel like, hey, this is the best way to help humanity. And that's kind of like what you make your guiding charge, except for it's locked into this specific story, and the details of that story. But you will notice as pastors kind of go along, many of them will start to secularize their message, because they'll start, kind of recognizing, hey, maybe this is a little more harmful. Maybe we don't know what we're really talking about here. So it's absolutely amazing that we have people out there like the founders of Sunday Assembly and like the founders of Oasis who said, we're going to give it a try. We're going to remove all of the religious superstition and try to make this work. I am super proud of them. And hats off to you, man, for seeing that as something that is valuable to be a part of. That's incredible. Now,
thanks so much. And I do think too that, like, part of the things with pastors when they kind of secularize over time, I think part of it too is that church and worship services in general are more about community than about theology. And we see that even in the studies. If you ask people what's the reason why you go to church, a lot of it's for the community and not
That's
for
right.
the theology aspect. So a lot of times, the pastors will start to understand that, people are here because they want to hear about, how someone's mom is doing, right? They don't want to hear too much God stuff or whatever, and even my wife is a Christian, but she considers herself to be a Christian humanist. She actually follows the philosophy of humanism, but she still wants to have ties to her, traditions and rituals and that type of thing. So there's a lot of people that I know, even ex-pastors who, or even people who are pastors but also retired. It's like now they're into the stage in their life where they just want to be more humanistic than they do religious.
Absolutely. I love that. Man, that's so good. Okay, so let's kind of get into your book a little bit, Humanism from the Heart. What is it? What challenge were you trying to solve when you wrote this book? What made you say, like, this is a book that has to get out there? Because obviously it's resonating with people, and it's not just resonating with atheists. It's not just resonating with non-believers. People across the board are really getting behind this message. So what was the message? What was the problem that you wanted to solve with this?
Yeah, the biggest message that I wanted to get across was don't be a dick.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Right? Yeah, like I was going through everything, and what I was doing is I was writing a blog online, and it was on Medium, and it was a few stories here and there about, my experiences dealing with religion over the years and like how I was able to overcome certain things in my life. And someone said, we should write a book about this. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. I was like, sure, I can just take these stories that I already have and kind of throw them together. And I put a note on Facebook saying, I'm writing a book if anyone has any memories from when we were kids, if they want to throw some things in there. And someone reached out to me and said, well, actually, I'm an author. You don't know who I am because I'm using a pen name, but it's someone from high school, and I'll edit your book for free. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I sent it to her, and she's like, this is no good. And I'm like, oh, well, okay.
Wow.
Why? She's like, well, it's really good. There's some funny stuff here and some really heartfelt stuff, but there's no real message that's tying everything together. You need to go back to the drawing board. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to write this anymore. Then I'm kind of like defeated at this point. Yeah. And so I let it go for a little while, like probably 2 or 3 months. And then I was hosting a podcast for Humanist Canada, and they asked me to come up with the name of a segment because I was going to be doing the segment. And I'm like, maybe it's kind of from the heart. So maybe humanism from the heart. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to use that for the title of my book. And then I'm like, and a lot of good books need subtitles as well. So I'm like, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? I'm trying to accomplish like rebuilding bridges instead of, building the bridges instead of burning them. I'm like, and it's, and then I wanted to go with the theme that's like the beyond belief, like the parenting beyond belief, grief beyond belief. I'm like, well, building bridges beyond belief is the best alliteration I could come up with. So there we go.
Yes.
And yeah, so basically that's when I got the name of the book, everything started to flow. I was able to rewrite some of the chapters I already written and just flow it all together. And the main message is, just get along with people, regardless of what your backgrounds and beliefs are.
That's beautiful. So I love that. So in your mind, you see a world where we can coexist, where it doesn't have to be a world where belief has to fade away and recede into the shadows. You see a world where the better bridge forward is finding a way for believers and non-believers to coexist. Why is that important to you?
Well, I think it's the only way that we can really go forward as a species, right? Because there's always going to be religion. There's always going to be beliefs. There's always going to be, and it's not necessarily religion, just there's a lot of ideas that people hold on to that are not necessarily true, but they're helpful and they're meaningful to people. So I think that, allowing people to have those feelings, as long as they're not going to be encroaching on somebody else's life or, being harmful to other people. And I would rather work with the people who are progressive but religious as opposed to people who are, staunch atheists, but they also have a problem with like the LGBTQ community or something like that, right? So find the commonalities that we have, regardless of what your background, what your beliefs are, who you are as a person. Stop making assumptions, because I think the assumptions are kind of where we're having a lot of problems, right? Like you hear Christian, you think of somebody like Kenneth Copeland, right? But most Christians are just people who get up on a Sunday and happen to go to a community, right? Like there's a lot of a gray area there. And the same thing when people think atheists, they think Christopher Hitchens, right? But a lot of us are in between. There's a lot of us that are, like me, who are trying to build these bridges. And I think the biggest problem is that we make a lot of assumptions. And I can come up with some examples of that. Like even, some people might come up to you and say like, oh, you must be part of Black non-believers, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Like Mandisa Thomas, Detroit Atheist Queen, Candace Gorham, Cynthia McDonald, they're all part of Black Non-Believers, which is an amazing organization. But they're going to see someone like you and say, oh, you must be part of that group without understanding that there are people who are not necessarily part of a group, right? Yeah. And it's like, so making an assumption and saying like, you must be part of this group, it's like it kind of puts up the boundary, right? So, and the things I find the same thing with me. People will come up to me and say, "Oh, you must, what church do you go to, or whatever?" Like, I don't go to a church, right? And they're like, "What do you mean you don't go to a church?" Right? Like just making assumptions. So it's like if you start a conversation, a la street epistemology, which, like I said, we can get into later, but it's basically like, oh, tell me what gives your life meaning, right? As opposed to saying something like, "Why do you believe in myths?" or "What church do you go to?" or whatever, right? Just start the conversation off with something that allows someone to explain who they are without making assumptions.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really, really important. I think one of the things we try to encourage ourselves to do is to remember that people are individuals, and that labels can really become shortcuts. The moment you assign a label, it becomes a shortcut where you can make that assumption. I know these things about this person that I don't. So I think that's a really great call out. There's something that we try to encourage within our community. Just remember, every person's an individual. There's not one label you could know about them that really gives you truly any true insight into their lives, into who they are, or anything like that. Those things only come from conversations with that individual. So I really love that's a part of your heart, a part of your work. I was going to say heart's cry, because heart is just kind of like in the theme. But speaking of heart, why do you think emotional intelligence is such a critical foundation for humanism today?
Well, I think that's what's missing in the world. I think that a lot of times when you hear the news, you just hear about the people who are treating the other in such a horrible way. And it's like, I think the us versus them narrative is a really dangerous thing that we need to avoid. So I think the best way possible to avoid that is, to lose the assumptions that we talked about before, to also give people the courtesy and the ability to explain their side of things. Once you develop that mutual understanding where you can understand where someone's coming from with their line of questioning, and they can understand you with your line of questioning, you can kind of reach a middle ground and you can develop that mutual trust and mutual respect. Because you don't have to respect their belief, but you do have to respect the person.
Yeah, that's good. Well, and dang it. I mean, that leads into a nice segue. What do those bridges look like between believers and non-believers? Because I think some people may have a adverse reaction to the idea. Like, I don't want to build with those people. But I think sometimes when we think of bridges, right, we just think of everything is on that bridge, and it may not have to be everything. So when you think of building bridges with non-believers coexisting with believers and building bridges, what do those bridges look like for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the thing is too, what does the foundation of those bridges look like too? Right? Because when you're having those initial conversations, there may be things that you disagree with immediately. There may be times where you're kind of at someone's throat, or they're at your throat about some things, and you're having a little bit of a disagreement. The important thing is getting past that, understanding like, okay, we do have a difference here, but these are the things that we want to focus on. So you know what? Me and the church down the street, we both want to feed the homeless people in the town, right? So what is the bridge that we can build in between us so that those homeless people can sit on that bridge and eat, right? That's what we got to work on.
That's good. And that really goes back to, again, highlighting what you said earlier, is really focusing on the things that we have in common and not the things that we don't have in common. And it's regardless of how vast our differences are, we will find that there are more things that we share in common if we learn how to kind of like do what you said, just shift the conversation to the things that are more productive for preserving the relationship, that are more productive for preserving what we can do, or even not even just preserving, but empowering what we can do for society by working together. Because at the end of the day, we're better together.
Absolutely. And the thing is too, is you're not going to get along with everybody. There's always going to be people that you can't see eye to eye with on everything, right? There's just certain people where it's just not going to work, right? And you need to identify that there's people that you can't work with. And then, you know what? Maybe they're part of a group that somebody else in that group you can work with, right? You don't have to work with that person. And that's the biggest thing too. People just think like, I'm trying to say that you can work with everybody, or this is going to work for everybody. And it really doesn't, right? Like there are certain hard lines and red lines that you don't want to cross. And I've been there too. I've gotten people like, screaming in my face or telling me something. And I'm like, you know what? I just don't feel like I have any kind of connection with this person. I don't think this is going to work.
Yeah. I love it. And that just comes with being honest. That comes with being authentic, a little bit of being assertive, but still finding a way to be empathetic at the same time. And it's a long line of consideration. That's beautiful, man.
And Skeptical Scott just mentioned here, giving the ability for someone to express themselves in a disorganized, messy way, because some of us ain't so slick. It's true, right? Like there's a lot of times where people will be using a different type of language that you're not used to, or they'll be using a different type of terminology, and you're just like, I don't know why this person is saying they're going to pray for me and this, that, and the other, but maybe that's the way they express themselves, right? Like maybe maybe them saying they're going to pray for you isn't a backhanded comment. Maybe to them it actually has meaning and everything, right? So you just got to give people the common courtesy.
Absolutely. I do love that. That is one thing, especially living in the South, because living down here, there's always going to be bless you. I'm praying for you. I hope you have a blessed day. And I never went through a phase where it aggravated me. Most times it just kind of went over my head. But I did have some friends visiting me one time, and they were like just amazed at how ingrained religious language is here. And I don't know why, and I guess it's possibly because I was in ministry for so long. The language doesn't register as religious for me. Like when I hear I'll pray for you, or bless you, I'm pretty sure that person likely comes from a Christian tradition. I'm not so sure that person is a Christian. My mind is they're likely just saying what they culturally are used to saying, but no, that I have noticed that for some people that can be incredibly triggering. And I've definitely tried to become even more mindful of understanding that, because I don't always relate. Like I tell people I'm weird. When I deconverted, I had no fear of hell, no lingering fear of hell. It wasn't there when I was a Christian though. So, that wasn't going to automatically pop up. But so I am different in those regards. But for people who do have those triggers, who say, man, like, no, someone saying, God bless you is violating me. It's taking me back to a place that I don't want to go. How do we help people like that build bridges in this world where we know there are people who are going to be a little less cautious with that terminology?
Man, you're hitting me with the good questions. This is good. So that's the thing, right? We all have triggers. We all have certain phrases, certain sentences, things like that. They're going to throw us off, make us into, dicks, which we don't want to be, right?
Yeah.
So we got to try and avoid the dickishness, right? I always say, I'm sometimes a dick, but I'm usually a dick for dickness sake, but that's the thing, is that we have to give people the common courtesy. And you know what? It's difficult because there are going to be times when we are triggered by things. And there's something called religious trauma syndrome that is currently being studied. It's not quite in the DSM yet, but there is post-traumatic stress disorder for people who have suffered from harmful aspects of religion. So an organization like Recovering from Religion is really good to reach out to, because they're like a shoulder to cry on, or someone to hug, someone to listen to your problems. And also the Secular Therapy Project, where you can actually get a secular therapist to discuss with them what it is about these things that are triggering to you, because maybe they have methods that they can get you past that, or even just to the point where you can ignore it and not worry about what other people are thinking or saying. And then, I did notice earlier too, I couldn't catch it quite quickly, but Kevin on the chat was also saying too that, there's well, let me see here if I can find it. So like you can work with people and not have to bring up religion too, right? So it doesn't necessarily, if someone says something like, "Oh, bless you," or something like that, just say thank you and move on. Or you can just say like, "Well, I'm actually not religious, but I appreciate this sentiment."
Oh, I love that. I love, okay, see, that was gold right there, right? Because most of the times we put the period earlier. I'm not religious. But I love the fact that you came back and recognized that. I also recognize you weren't trying to be negative to me. So I'm not religious, but I do appreciate the sentiment that you had. That's powerfully human to me. That's really cool. I love the fact that you mentioned Recovering from Religion and Secular Therapy Project, because that's another part of building those bridges, right? So if for those people who are on that side of this trigger system, people who are on that side of the trauma, and like, hey, I'm not at that point where I can really be in these spaces with believers yet, then your bridge to get there might be an organization like Recovering from Religion. That's your bridge to help you get back healthy. Secular Therapy Project. And I love, that's what I really love about your focus. It almost comes off with a type of unsung optimism, where you seem to believe in the capacity of people. Like, hey, listen, I know this hurts really bad for you right now, but I think with some good tools and with some good community and some good support, I think we can get you to the other side, which I mean is like a bridge in itself. But why do you believe so positively or so optimistically about people? Or am I reading it wrong?
No, you're reading it right. And I think that the biggest thing is that I've seen the fruits of my labor in my marriage and in the conversations that I'm able to have with people. And I think it started on the helpline with Recovering from Religion. When I was on the helpline, I still am, but also helping people and just listening to where they're coming from, and then being able to offer the resources and everything that we have. And I'm like, you know what, I'm learning from these resources at the same time that I'm providing them to our clients. And it's just being able to have these conversations and then have like a aha moment, like this is how things go if we work together, and this is what we can accomplish. Because there's been certain times where I've had these interfaith symposiums where I've been up on stage with people that are Muslim and Sikh and Jewish, and it's like we're all there for the same purpose, and that is to create an understanding that we all need to work together, and all we have is each other.
Yes. Oh man, I love that. I love that ender. All we have is each other. I know that's the question that I kind of push myself to, that challenges my own humanism. I'm like, is there anybody on the planet that I think I'd be willing to get rid of? And my approach to humanism is no. And that's anytime I'm thinking about, no matter how different someone else's set of beliefs or values are from mine, it's just like, nah, I'm not to that point where I'd want anybody else to not be here. As a matter of fact, and it's almost from a selfish point. You know, I always tell people I'm a little selfish. It's from a selfish point. The more I learn about the expanding universe that we live in, and the more I realize how much we don't know, it makes me wonder how much time we've wasted fighting each other, instead of working together. Like, knowledge is slipping away from us at every moment. And so we all have to find some type of way to live together, to coexist together. It doesn't mean we have to be best friends. It doesn't mean we have to be a part of the same circles, but we can be a part of networks of bridges that are all helping us collaborate together. And I love that, because at the end of the day, man, like, we are in this together. Like, that, one of my favorite phrases is like, we are space apes on a floating rock, man. And we can't spare not a one. My wife has a famous relative who wrote a song years ago, and it's a beautiful song, but it's just like, there are no extra people. There are no extra people in mansions. There are no extra people in ghettos. There are no extra people. And I love it. Is there any idea in your book that you think people consistently misinterpret?
There is a bit, but the funny thing is that it's mostly people from the non-religious side that are mostly questioning me on things.
Man.
And it's kind of along the same questions that you had, where it's like, how do you know that this can work, and that type of thing, right? Or like, are we being too generous to the other side? And I do want to preface all that by saying, we don't have to accept the harmful aspects of religion. We don't have to accept, the bigotry or anything like that, right? Like, all that stuff needs to die. But what we're looking for is the progressive people who are willing to work through the small differences. What I always talk about when I talk about my wife is, I say we agree on 99% of things. We just disagree on how the universe came to be, which is the smallest thing when you really think about it, because nobody knows the answer. So why argue about something like that, right? Absolutely. But everything else we seem to agree on. So it's like, if we can find more people, not necessarily our spouses, but just other people who are in the same boat, where, we agree on even 86% of things, right? Like, we don't have to agree on everything, but the harmful aspects we do definitely have to agree on, because those are the things that are going to hold us back as a species. Absolutely. When it comes back to what you were saying about us being selfish, or you being selfish, that is a natural thing, right? Selfishness also helps progress the species, and that's how we were able to progress. Because if you look, the book *Sapiens* by Noah Harari, he talks about how we needed to be part of a group and care about our own well-being enough to care about the neighbor's well-being, so that nobody is going to be murdering each other or hurting each other, right? And stealing from each other. We need to actually work as a group if we're going to progress as a species. That's
so beautiful, man. That's beautiful. All right. So why do you think humanism responds with so many people who are leaving religion right now? Why are people flocking to places like UU's, Sunday Assembly, and Oasis? What is it that they're doing that people are like, yeah, this resonates?
Yeah, and even West Hill United, because we know Joe Pittenger took over from Greta Vosper, who was also an atheist minister, and she created a community of people who are like-minded and want that as well. I think the biggest thing, the reason why people are flocking to places like this, is because they're looking for the community aspect, but also there's something missing from your life when you lose either your religion or just your religious community, or even just family in general, right? You have a bit of a hole in your life. And some people want to fill that with something that they call spirituality, which, we don't know what that definition means, because it's different to everybody. There's a girl named Britt Hartley right now. She's always on a lot of the shows on YouTube and stuff like that, and she's talking about no nonsense spirituality, where you can have
Yes.
some type of spirituality within disbelief. For me, I don't really feel like I need that, but I do want the community aspect of things, and I think a lot of people do want that community aspect. And I think that places like Sunday Assembly, places like Oasis, if you want that spiritual, in quotation marks, aspect as well, there are opportunities for that, because it's a non-judgmental place where you can come and be yourself, and we're just going to accept you for who you are. There's some people with Sunday Assembly Detroit who have what's that called? Like I'm trying to think of the it's not a religion, but it's like they used to call them heathens back in the day. I can't even think of the name of it, but you know, it was they had Saturnalia and that type of thing.
Okay. Oh yeah.
What's the group?
Pagans.
Pagans, pagans, right?
Yes.
So there's people who are in these communities that are pagans. They believe in either they believe in the gods and goddesses, or they see some type of benefit to claiming belief in these deities. So like there's going to be people like that are a part of these communities, and we just are there to be a part of the community and not judge people on what they want to believe or claim to believe.
Man. Okay, now let's talk about that part. How hard is it not to judge other folk? Like that seems to be like damn near impossible. Like is it a knee-jerk reaction where we want to feel like we have some opinion on somebody else or some guidance in other people's lives? Like that's a very interesting thing to navigate. How are you navigating being non-judgmental? How do you navigate creating non-judgmental spaces?
That's probably the hardest part of everything. Like there's two different things that I find are the hardest part. One of them is being not judgmental, and the other thing is having cordial conversations without losing your cool. Because those are the two things that a lot of us are struggling with. And even being a 10-year veteran at this now, I'm still struggling with things like that. Like the judgmentalness, it's not an easy thing to overcome. And a lot of times what I have to do is I have to check myself. I go, am I judging this person unfairly? Is this person actually a good person? Were they, was this whole situation mishandled? What happened here, kind of thing, right? So I think that part of it is you're allowed to be judgmental, but when it comes to being vocal about things, I think being on the gentle side of that and just questioning people instead of accusing them or pointing the finger at somebody is probably the best way to do it. So just say did you really mean what you said here? Or, like, did this come across the right way? That type of thing, right? Where it's like, give someone the opportunity and the, be generous to that person to allow them to explain themselves.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. Oh man, this is good. What do you think the humanist movement, or we'll just say the secular movement as a whole, what do you think? And not to put all the weight and the pressure on you, but what do you think that we really need to unlearn from our past? What do you think this movement needs to unlearn from our past?
That's also a really good question. I think that the things that are holding us back are actually the humanist manifestos, because and that's
I did not expect that. I did not expect that.
It's probably gonna be a hot take, but the thing is that I think that having things in writing and explaining what humanism is, it's good, but at the same time, then you're kind of holding yourself to that standard. Whereas I think humanism in general, like secular humanism, needs to evolve with the times. We can't necessarily always think that the things in the past are the way they're going to stay. And as morality changes, because it's subjective morality, right? We're learning things as we go, as humans, as a species. So I think that having something on paper is good, but then enable it to change and enable amendments to happen to it, right? So I think that's why there has been a series of humanist manifestos. We're not just stuck with one. It keeps changing over time, but you can tell that each of them are a product of their generation. And I think going forward, we just need to have an open mind and an open heart to what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Ooh, I like that. I don't know if the language I'm going to use works here, but it's just more like open humanism. A humanism that isn't restricted to yesterday's definition. It's progressive. It's a progressive humanism that every day we're exploring what it means to be humanist. I do love that. I do like that. Like I said, I was not expecting that one. That one came. I was not expecting that answer, but that was really well thought out, and I really do appreciate that, because it does bring us to that place of, I do think we wrestle sometimes when we lock something into a standard and say we're doing this because this is what they said yesterday, because I think that does make it easier and easier for us to cast away the responsibility to continue to interrogate it ourselves and to determine, to ask that question, does this still work for us today? Dang it, man, that's not what I expected. See, like, man, you zigged when I was expecting you to zag. But but you know, we need more conversations like this, right? We need more conversations like this.
For sure.
Now I'm going to be chewing on that in my head for a minute. All right, so let me move to this next question before I get stuck, because I'm literally there. Like, my neurospicy is going like haywire right now.
And you know what? That's fine, because being able to think about things and being able to ponder on them is what, you know, helps us progress to the next stage.
Absolutely, man. So, how do you think humanism should respond to the rise in loneliness, polarization, and disconnection? Which I think we're already seeing some of that in some of the work that you're doing. But so yeah, I'm gonna shut up. You go ahead.
I don't want you to shut up. No. Yeah, like I am trying to work on that myself as well, you know, with the book and everything, and going and doing these talks and everything. But the thing is too, is that like we're trying to help as many people as possible. And then we're hoping that the people that we're helping are able to then turn around and help those people, because that's what I experienced when I reached out to Anthony Magnabosco and to Dale McGowan and to Recovering from Religion. It's like they were helping me. And then all of a sudden I'm like, now I can help the next generation. So I think, you know, they say that saying about, you know, send the elevator back down once you've reached the top, right?
Yes.
It's, you know, they talk about it on a financial aspect, but they don't talk about it in like a philosophical or, you know, like worldview type thing, where it's like, you know what, I've kind of gotten my life to the place where I've built my own foundation and I'm very solid in this. Now I can send the elevator back down and try and help the next generation of people who are struggling with the same issues that I was, and maybe even further issues because they had to come out of a religion and now they're traumatized, right? So giving them the ability to pick themselves up, but not making them do it on their own, being there for them, being a shoulder to cry on and someone to help them to listen to.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good, because you know, we already know how it impacts a child to grow up without being nurtured, without being supported, without being hugged. I don't think we take that next step and think, man, well, what about adults? How are adults formed, and how are they impacted in life if something happens so traumatic that they lose all sense of support? They lose all sense of self. They no longer have this community anymore. And that is what some people who deconstruct end up going through this phase of almost no touch, where no one who speaks to you is kind to you, where no one in your life is proud of you because of just this one little thing, that is your belief. I can imagine that making people either very hard or very depressed. Have you seen any of that in your work?
Definitely. And I think that's part of the reason why people can be love bombed so hard when it comes to religions, and also to political ideologies as well, because you get someone that's like a con man who gets up and says something with confidence and says, you know, like, follow me and you'll never go hungry again, like Scar on Lion King, right? The hyenas followed Scar because, you know, they wanted to eat. Right. And I think that's what happens a lot of times is people get love bombed by, you know, political ideologies, religions, and other groups that, you know, cults and stuff that prey on people who are in those low moments. So I think like providing people with, you know, common courtesy, even just having a conversation, giving them a coffee, you know, helping people on the street with food and giving them the bare necessities that they need so that at least they can be in a good place to be able to make decisions for themselves.
Oh man, I love that. And that's really, man, I hope we catch how powerful that is, you know, because that's transformative. When people have a space where they know on their worst day, on their roughest day, they know they have a space that I can go to. Someone's gonna, hey man, here's a coffee, here's a hug. hey, here's a listening ear, you know what I'm saying? Here's an activity to get involved with, just something for you to do. That is absolutely transformative.
Yeah, and there's a group here called Street Help, and so it's actually organized by a girl who is a humanist, but she's also a Christian, right?
Wow.
And but she actually has like a lifetime membership of Humanist Canada. So she actually has she's a card carrying member, but she's also a Christian. But she's had ministers and priests that are coming and they'll say, well, they have to do a prayer before I can give them a meal, and she says, absolutely not. She's like,
wow.
There'll be none of that here, because part of it too is that, like, you know, we as humanists, I don't want to say we have an obligation, but if we feel compelled, we can feed people without requiring them to assimilate us, right? They don't need to be part of our group to feed them. Whereas a lot of times the religious groups and the political groups, you have to be a member of their group to actually be fed or to be taken care of. And I don't want that to happen for our side at all.
At all. Oh, I love that, man. We have I have someone on our team just recently added a few months ago, and she just had this question one day, and it threw me off guard a little bit. She asked me, says, "Hey, does Bridge City have a Bible?" And I was like, "What? No, not never." But when she actually began to unpack what she meant, it was like a light bulb. She was like, "Well, you know, when you're a part of a religion, people give you this book, and they say, hey, all of your questions are answered right here, you know." And so it led to a conversation in our community about life's big questions and what are life's big questions. And now that you don't have this shortcut of someone else's certainty, you know, how do we answer those questions as humanists? So religion typically offers this template for meaning, this template for all of your answers. Does humanism have a template or a framework or a blueprint? How do we answer the question? How do we answer life's biggest questions as humanism? And maybe that's a trick question. I don't know. Let's see.
Well, so this goes back to what I was talking about with the humanist manifestos, whereas that people will sometimes tag onto that and say, well, this is what you believe. And it's like, well, not necessarily. There are a lot of things in there that I do agree with, but I am my own person and I do have my own view of humanism. So I usually start with an elevator pitch when people ask me what humanism is. And I just say it's a non-religious worldview, which is focused on compassion, empathy, kindness, and also the scientific investigation and logic and reason.
Yeah.
So that's basically what I say when it comes to like the philosophy of humanism, because people always say, well, is it another religion? It's like, I get, you can call it a religion if you want to, but there's a very specific definition for religion, and what humanism is a philosophy, right? So if you look up the definition of philosophy, it actually fits into a philosophy. So I think that the biggest thing is that we don't need to have everything down on paper that it is, because it's just not going to encapsulate the entire thing. You're going to be able to change over time. And I understand that the manifestos were actually like a really important part for everyone to get on paper down what it is that we needed to know about humanism. And going forward, it's really nice to have those as reference guides, but I just don't want people to rely on those as being our holy books or anything along those lines, right? Like, it's just, there doesn't need to be something that's going to tie us down like a dogma. Whereas a lot of religions, that's what they are tied to, right? And when I was doing these interfaith symposiums, people were kind of, you know, throwing the manifesto at me and saying, well, you know, you must agree with all of these things in here. And I'm like, well, to tell you the truth, I probably do, but at the same time, my mind is open and I'm expanding my knowledge of things outside of this book as well.
I love that, man. Okay, so yeah. See, now I have to go back and reread the manifestos. Because I don't know if I've ever been asked if I agreed with everything that was in them, but I know there's not too much of anything that I've ever read that I agree with everything that's in it. And it's interestingly one of those things that I've like released as a requirement for my life. I no longer have to agree with everything I read. If I didn't, I wouldn't read as much. You know, I no longer have a requirement or even an expectation of people that I come in contact to agree with everything I say, or for me to agree with everything they say. And I like that. That's such a freeing place to be.
It is. It's so nice. And the thing is too, getting back to when you're saying what the reason was for writing my book, part of it was actually to say, you know what, all of these textbooks have been written and guidebooks and like how-to guides on how to have conversations and how to get along with people in different backgrounds and stuff like that. In mine, I'm like, I want it to be a memoir of the way that I was able to interact with these people in the moment. And it's more about my own reflections and how I was able to do this. And I do it in such a candid way that's like people can either get something from it, or they might just go, oh, that's just a nice story, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like a parable. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a teaching moment. Maybe someone already is already dealt with something like that in their life, and they don't need to hear, the way that I dealt with it. Maybe they dealt with it in a better way than I did. But it might help somebody in each of the moments. There's 31 different chapters, which they're basically essays on things that have happened in my life. So being able to hear someone else's perspective might help somebody get over the hump of whatever issue it is that they're dealing with, but without being slapped in the face and saying, this is what you must do, or this is how you have to do a step-by-step thing, right?
Yes. I really agree with that. One of my favorite business books was a book by Patrick Lencioni called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And what made that book so well received was that instead of writing, hey, here's dysfunction 1, look for this, here's dysfunction 2, he decided to write the book in fable format. So for each dysfunction, he created a story. And that kind of circles back to something you said earlier in the conversation, that when you think that when you were growing up, you kind of realized that religion is just the stories that we tell each other. And I think that's probably what's really effective about your book, is that you've honed in onto that same idea that, I could give a book, Humanism from the Heart. Here are the 31 principles you need to follow to be a humanist. Or I could write more memoir style. Here's my life. And anybody who knows me, like, I love this phrase about we're all just the blind folk touching the elephant. So it's just like, here's my life. Here's what I'm experiencing over here. And that becomes a powerful point of reference for someone else, because they're not necessarily having to see you as their instructor. They're seeing you as a fellow journeyer, as a fellow human. This is a human being who's presenting their experience, which allows me to kind of get safe and view them that way, and also view myself in those same situations. So I think that's a powerful tool, man.
Yeah, for sure. And Dale McGowan, he wrote a blurb on the back of my book, and he even says, if you're looking for a book on treatises against religion or whatever, like, look elsewhere. This is just a basic human being living a human life. And I think that you just summed that up really well right there.
Oh, I love it, man. Dang it. See, I'm good at some things. I got some things I'm good at. No, let me stop. So let me ask you this, man. What does a healthy humanist community look and feel like to you? And I'm really excited to hear this, not just because you've written a book, not just because like you're in the work, but you're actually involved with communities. You're speaking with them, you're representing them. So what does a healthy humanist community look like for you? What do they do? Why should anybody want to go?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And the thing is, like, the cool part about what I would consider a healthy community is just a community that is themselves. So whether there's conflict, whether there's resolution, whether there's whatever, it's like you're being authentically you, right? So people are allowed to be human, and we just accept them for who they are. And you know what? Sometimes we're going to have disagreements. Sometimes we're going to make amends, right? There's going to be things like that. There's going to be, people who are allowed to express their beliefs and their feelings in a safe environment where they're not going to be judged, and maybe they will be judged, but at least it'll be, in a nice way. You can say, well, I don't know if I agree with that, but what have you thought about this? Right. And maybe you can change someone's mind. The only people that can change your mind is you. But if you hear additional information that's going to help you, think about something, like you said earlier, I've never thought of this before, I'm gonna have to think about this. If you plant a seed in someone's mind about, like, maybe there's a better way to live, or a better way to, interact with a different group of people, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to chew on it, because I need to bring myself to a position where I can, rebuild these bridges that I've burned, or whatever it is that you're trying to do with. And I think that's the sign of a healthy community, is being able to have open and honest dialogue with people, understanding that we're all human, and, just allowing people to feel their feelings.
Yeah. That's really good, man. I feel like there's been so many interconnected points today, because that open and honest dialogue, that does take us back to the conversation we were having about learning how to reserve judgment. And again, that's very difficult. We all have stiff judgments. I've been watching my own self over the past 10 years. I have 2 boys and 2 daughters. And I realized one time we were in the store, and my daughter wanted to buy something to wear. And I looked at my wife like, no way in the world is she buying that? And I had to like pause and say, why am I saying that? Where is that coming from? And the funny thing is, it's not just one judgment. It's like several different judgments of several different. It's a judgment. Well, this type of clothing is going to attract this type of attention. And it's another judgment on these type of people are going to be trying to do this. And then it's another judgment on my daughter. And it's just like, whoa,
Right.
you know, that, you know, from an intellectual point, it's a slippery slope. It's almost every time we make those judgments, it's us running to a conclusion that we can't actually make that leap, you know. And by doing so, we're often doing harm, whether little harm or big harm, to the people in our lives, the people that we really care about. And so that's one thing I do enjoy about being a parent. I think that has probably lended more to my humanism than anything else, is learning how to watch my children be human and learning how to let them be human. Man, that's a whole damn conversation right there.
And we also have to listen to like the judgment as well, because it is a safety mechanism, right? There might be something going off in our head saying something is wrong about this situation. And, you know, it does give you a bit of time to analyze it and say, you know what, maybe I'm overthinking this, but I'm going to think about it and I'm going to, you know, come up with my own judgment later on when I can think in a more clear mind.
Yeah. I love that. That is awesome. That is awesome. All right. So how do we build communities that are inclusive, but still have values and boundaries? And what do boundaries look like in an inclusive community?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the difficult thing to do. And that's something you can't do as a single individual. You have to have a board or something that's going to help you, you know, develop, you know, what the rules and regulations are going to be surrounding your community and your environment. But basically, you know, try and allow people to be themselves without, you know, going into somebody else's bubble. So if you can, you know, be safe in your own space and bring that safety with you to that group, then, you know, then that should be fair game. But anybody that's bringing in harmful things, you know, whether it's, you know, causing physical harm or mental harm or anything like that, just, you know, attitudes, that type of thing, right? Just try and check yourself at the door and bring your best self.
Yes, I love that. Check yourself at the door and bring your best self. And then as far as boundaries, you know, it's recognizing when you're going into somebody else's bubble and get out of that bubble, leave that bubble alone. I remember years ago, I was having a conversation with some friends, and we had been friends for a very long time. And I was realizing that our conversations were starting to aggravate me more and more and more and more. And what it was is that there was a sincere disconnect in what they were wanting in life and what I was wanting out of life. And so what I found out is that not only were these conversations getting increasingly frustrating for me, they were getting increasingly frustrating for them too. And so something had happened in our relationship where we were still trying to force ourselves on each other. And it was really creating friction. Like we'd be sitting there talking, nobody's fighting or anything, but just talking for hours and hours at a time, but not getting anything done anymore, not being productive anymore. And then I realized I'm starting to feel negative ways about them. And what that is, that's actually me crossing their boundaries. The negative ways that I'm starting to feel about them, I'm starting to feel negative about them because they're not doing what I'm doing, because they're not aiming for what I'm aiming for. They're not in the race that I'm. And so that's what's leading to the frustrations in the conversations. In the conversations, I am doing my best to reshape them into me, and they are doing their best to reshape me into them. And that was, even though it was so small, that was just a little small boundary issue that I learned very, very early on. Like I'm actually being unfair to their authenticity, to their autonomy by trying to change who they are. They don't owe me their lived experience. They don't have to be hyper productive just because I'm hyper productive. They are who they are. And I think that was hard for me at the time because my mindset was, well, does that mean I'm going to lose these friends? You know? And what it did mean is we lost the closeness that we had at one point, but we actually didn't lose the friendship. Coming to that recognition actually helped us preserve the relationship. Like if we stay around each other right now, we're going to aggravate the hell out of each other because you're going to want me to slow down and I'm going to want you to speed up. And you shouldn't have to speed up just because I'm going fast. And I shouldn't have to slow down just because you're taking a break. And so I love that, respecting each other's boundaries in those ways. That's beautiful stuff, man.
Right.
Where do you feel humanism is going in an AI driven world? AI is all around us. We can't ignore it. What is humanism in the age of AI? And just to kind of load the question a little bit, I do see humanism as probably more necessary than before, than ever in the age of AI. But I'm curious to see how you're approaching that.
I think so too. I'm not sure completely. I haven't really done the deep dive into AI yet. I've done a couple like images and stuff like that, just making some fun images and things along those lines. But I'm scared to go too deep into it because I feel like it can get rid of the authenticity that we have as human beings. Like there's people, I think they can write a whole book now on AI or something like that. It's like there's probably a lot of mistakes in it, but it's still like it's almost indistinguishable from human writing. I know there's people that can see the difference, and I think there's ways to see the difference, but I'm just worried about that, just getting rid of authenticity. I'm scared of watching a movie and now all of a sudden, Brad Pitt's back to his, like 90s, right? With like the chiseled
interview with the vampire Brad Pitt.
Yeah, and it's like, did he give permission for that? Like, lots of different types of things. There needs to be a lot of discussion around how we can use AI and what are we going to do when it comes to authenticity.
I love that. Yeah, it's definitely, the landscape is changing. I know just even in the corporate sector, there's a lot of concern about like what work will look like in the future, like what living will look like. And none of us can really put our fingers on it. But I do, man. I'm so excited. Not excited, I'm optimistic that humanism may be able to help us build that bridge and to really be able to put our fingers on the pulse of the safeguards that we'll need for that.
And even within our own communities, I mean, there's lots of misunderstandings, lots of different difficulties and that type of thing. And the best thing that we can do is just do our best. Maya Angelou always said, do your best until you know better, and then when you know better, you do better. Right? So even if we can do that in our own lives, I've burned a lot of bridges in the past, and I've been doing my darndest to build them back again. And that's just,
I love that,
what I want to do. Right?
Yeah. When you know better, you do better. That's beautiful. What do you think the role that humanists should play in shaping the next 20 years, like ethically, politically, socially?
I think we're in for a big change. I think that there's a lot of groups out there right now. It depends on where you are in the world. Like I'm in Canada, so we're kind of a post-secular society as it is. We don't really have a national religion. But I find that, like, kind of south of the border with you guys, it's like a little bit more of the, nationalism is kind of tied to a religious identity. And I think that, a lot of people, it's actually turning quite a lot of people off. I've seen a lot of people, especially with recovering from religion. I get a lot of clients that are saying, because of the way that it's being forced on us, we're actually starting to drift away from it. And I think that providing a soft landing pad for somebody, a safe place to be within humanist communities, whether it's recovering from religion, whether it's Sunday Assembly, whether it's Oasis, whether it's Bridge City, wherever it is, we're going to be creating these societies where people can have a soft landing, so they don't have to, go all the way to the other side. They can stop along the way and sniff the roses.
Yes, I like that. Okay, so let's try to bring our conversation home today. What is one practice someone can start tomorrow to live out humanism from the heart?
That is a really good question. I would say we'll go back to the main message of the book and just don't be a dick. So if you go something, that you think is going to be, dickish, if you think that you're going to be, hurting someone else's feelings, I think the best thing you could do would just be stop, think about what you're going to say, and then, come across, in a friendly way, ask some questions for clarification if you don't understand what it is the person's saying or doing. And I think that, going forward, if everybody followed that, I think we'd be a better society.
Absolutely. I love it. All right. And what do you think is the most underrated humanist value?
Well, I'm going to have to say empathy, because for a long time, and certain places, empathy has been seen as a curse word, and it's kind of been scary to see that, because people say, oh, you can't have empathy for other people. And I think that you can. I think that empathy is probably the most important thing, because putting yourself in someone's shoes so that you can see them as yourself is not only a humanist teaching point, but also falls into a lot of religious teaching points as well.
Absolutely.
So I think just finding that main message that connects between all groups, it would be empathy.
I like that. Just kind of segueing into that, I wanted to tag that with this. What does humanism help you understand about yourself?
That's a really good question. I think that humanism has made me understand that I can be a better person. And it's, because like I did burn those bridges, and I was, kind of a dick for a bit. And I think that finding value and meaning in the principles of humanism, where you can be a kind person and still, and actually contribute to society, and actually, build these bridges and have friends and family who, care about you for who you are and not who you're pretending to be. If you're pretending to be, finding who you are so that people can actually appreciate you for you, and then you start appreciating you for yourself.
Man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Oh man. So let's close with this final question. And like, I got so many more that I want to ask, because you've hit some really hot points. But what I really love, I've used the word optimism a lot in this conversation. And I don't mean that in just the jovial sense. This seems to be a very grounded optimism. This is just a sense of reality. And so what gives you hope about humanity right now? Like in this moment, in 2025, how are you holding on to hope for humanity?
Well, I mean, I got my ear to the news, or my eyes to the news every day, right? To see, some of the crazy shit that's been said and done all over the world. And I just am holding on hope that reason will prevail, that people will use logic and reason and critical thinking, and, less relying on clickbait headlines and things like that, and actually getting to the heart of issues and finding out where we can problem solve where we can, because we need to actually work together to be able to make this world a better place, or it won't. And we can't have that, because we won't be here anymore.
That's right. That is a solid closer. The world is not going to get better just because we want it to. We're going to have to do the work, and that work is going to have to be done together. Man, how powerful. I imagine you're not a person that has a lot of enemies. This isn't a technical question, but like, I just imagine you don't make a lot of enemies, do you?
I mean, it does happen from time to time, because I let myself get taken advantage of a lot, because, I do try and see the humanity in other people, and I try to, see the positives in people, and but now I'm better at recognizing when I'm being taken advantage of, or when something, something heated is coming, and I find a way to dodge it, or to, turn it into something positive.
I love that. That's beautiful. And just looking for that positivity, it's not always, it's not always the way that other people think it's going to be. Like I think I've become somewhat of an extreme stoic in my life about many things. So things that are beyond my control are just not even things that I allow myself to stress out anymore about. And so it is a beautiful thing, because it's also a part of allowing other people to be human, and just say, well, they feel that way right now. That's them. That's their human experiencing. They're having it. They don't owe me that experience the same way that I don't owe them mine. And so us letting people human and giving them the room to be human, even when their humanity is a little different for us, I think is a big step in the right direction. Before I let you go, I promised you, like, this is like, I love to do this with all my guests. Is there anything you have going on that you want to promote right now that you want people to know about?
Well, I'm actually kind of taking a bit of a hiatus, just, dealing with some family things right now, but basically I'm still continuing to go and to do these talks and to go on shows and like this and discuss, having cordial conversations and finding ways to make connections between people with different backgrounds and beliefs. Eventually I will be coming out with a sequel to this book. It's going to be called Humanism at Hand, Practical Principles for Peaceful Partnerships. But I think it's going to be a few years in the making, because I kind of want to see if the the techniques and things that I'm using with people and with my children and with my family are going to pan out over time and see how that goes, so that I'll have more stories to share how those turned out.
Awesome. Well, I think we're all going to be looking forward to it. And last but not least, where can people find your book at?
Yeah, you can find it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere that you get books. I do every 3 months, I put it up for free on Kindle. So it's the ebook is free. December 19th, I think, is the next one. And then it'll be 3 months from then. I try to keep it as low as possible because I'm not trying to make money off this. I'm just trying to get the message out there and trying to get as many people on the same page as possible.
That's refreshing. That is refreshing. Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time today, man. This conversation has been absolutely brilliant. This might be the least amount I've ever cussed on a Sunday session. I don't think I've cussed at all today. Like, Steve, your presence is just so calming. Right? Well, again, man, thank you so much. I'm going to drop you into the back. I'll make sure to add some of your links to the description so people know where to find you. But literally, Steve is easy to find. Type his name in. You're going to find him. He has a name like mine. If you type our name in, you're going to find us and nobody but us. So again, thank you so much for being here, man. For everybody that's watching, thank you all for being here today and being a part of this conversation. Please connect with Steve and the work that he does. Check out his book if you haven't already. I have my own copy that he has signed. So, I'm going to be jumping into that myself. But that's all we have for today, for today's conversation. I am going to put our announcements back up and play those as we're going. So for those of you who missed them, you will have the announcements. But for everybody else, I love y'all. Until next time, keep rising. Sunday Sessions. This is our weekly space of reflection, growth, and connection here at Bridge City Global, where our mission is to connect better, build better, and live better. Whether you're tuning in from across the country or across the globe, whether you're brand new or you've been walking with us for a while, you belong here. Every Sunday, we gather to learn together, unlearn together, and build a community that's people-centric, progressive thinking, and grounded in compassion, clarity, and real human connection. So get comfortable, say hello in the chat, and settle in. We're glad you made it. Let's grow together. Before we get started, let's jump into a few announcements. This holiday season, Bridge City is spreading some love and care across the globe. Donate at least one food item to a local food bank, shelter, or a community food collection point. When you donate, be sure to share a photo of your donation on the Bridge City Moments Forum. You can donate anywhere near you, a food bank, a grocery store, any place with a donation bin, a school drive, or a community center. Even one can of food makes a difference. Let's fill the world with moments of kindness. Now, if you're looking out how to participate, just drop off a food item at a local donation spot. Take a quick photo of you, your item, your drop off, and post it in the Bridge City Moments with the tag BC Thanksgiving Food Drive 2025. Hashtag BC Thanksgiving Food Drive 2025. No contribution is too small, but together we make a big impact. At Bridge City Global, we believe being connected doesn't mean just logging in. It means joining in. That's why we've created clubs. These are dedicated spaces where members like you engage, create, collaborate, and grow together. We have clubs for you to connect, like the Deconstruction Club and the Life's Big Questions Club, where members build conversations that matter and that lead to transformation. We also have clubs for you to collaborate on community projects like the Music Club and the Production Club for creatives who want to plug their talents in. Why should you join a club? Because when you join, you'll be a part of something bigger than just watching. You'll be co-creating. You'll meet people who share your interest and match your energy. You'll connect with others who love the same things you do. And most importantly, you'll take action. Ideas turn into posts, actions, events, sessions, and so much more. And the best part, getting started is easy. Check out the clubs, get involved, and let's make our community richer because you're a part of it. Thanks for being here. Let's make it amazing. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but we have a new series starting next week. We're preparing to soar through new possibilities in a new Sunday session series that we're calling Flight School. Every year we lift off with dreams, goals, and new intentions. But before we can soar, we have to understand the skies we're flying through. Flight School is an end-of-the-year series designed to help us learn life's in-flight protocol, how to handle turbulence, when to buckle up, how to deal with emotional hijackers, and how to travel light enough to rise. This isn't about escaping the world. It's about learning how to navigate it. Flight School is your pre-flight checklist for 2026. release, readiness, responsibility, resilience, and recovery. So grab your seat, buckle up, and prepare to soar through new possibilities. Meet us back here next weekend. Bridge City is growing fast, and we want to make sure every single person knows exactly where they fit, how to connect, and how to take their next steps in this movement. For 7 days, we're opening the doors to our entire global campus, our clubs, our teams, our projects, our leaders, our conversations, all of it. This is our first official open house, starting with our kickoff event next Sunday evening. We're going to have an orientation, do some recognitions, and then we're going to end the evening with a Thanksgiving Pictionary night. It's the perfect reset and re-entry point for the whole community. Each day after kickoff, our different clubs will host a live event, an activity, or a challenge. That Monday, our Comms Club is hosting a social media party and contest. On Thursday, our Deconstruction Club is hosting a live event with me. You got to check the calendar. It's going to be a packed week. We wrap the week with the Bridge City Experience, where we're going to spend some time reflecting on the week's highlights, member stories, and club moments. And we'll officially close the night strong with our first community movie night. Also, beginning in December, we're having office hours. Every Thursday will be a set time each week where anyone from anywhere can come in and ask questions, get clarity, or talk all things Bridge City. This is your direct line to leadership, a global touch point, a place to stay informed, aligned, and supported. Check the Global Campus Events calendar for the exact time. If you've been watching from the sidelines, if you've been meaning to plug back in, if you've been looking for your people, Open House Week is your moment. Office hours will be your anchor, and clubs are how we build this community together. Head to Circle, check out the open house page, and mark your calendars. Family, let's make this next season the most connected we've ever been. And last but not least, Bridge City Global is fully people-powered. No superstition, no tithes, no compulsory giving. Just a community choosing month by month, project by project, to build something real, something needed, something that lasts. If Bridge City has been meaningful to you, we invite you to support this work. You can give through the link in the description or the QR code on your screen. Every dollar goes directly into creating the spaces, experiences, teams, tools, and events that make this movement possible. We're excited to announce a new tradition here. Every second Tuesday of the month is Bridge City's Giving Tuesday. It's a moment where our community comes together, not out of pressure, not out of obligation, but out of shared generosity and shared ownership. Giving Tuesday is how we strengthen our community economy, fund new clubs, teams, and programs, support local campus development, expand events, Sunday sessions, and the content that reaches people across the globe. This has become a foundation of sustainable community. Every contribution, whether it's $5 or $5,000, helps keep these bridges going, helps us keep building bridges to better. If this information, if this content have challenged you, if it has elevated you, you can give right now using the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on your screen. And mark your calendar, our next Giving Tuesday is coming up soon. Let's show the power of community generosity. We appreciate you. Let's keep building these bridges together, and together we all keep rising.